So today, the Supreme Court is meeting to decide whether or not they're going to take up Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. Yeah, you heard me right. They're meeting in private today to discuss hundreds of appeals that piled up during their summer recess, including Ghislaine Maxwell's challenge to her criminal convictions for recruiting and grooming teenage girls for Epstein. They're only going to take up a tiny percentage of these appeals and will likely announce a list of those it has agreed to hear later this week. Maxwell's lawyers are arguing that a deal Epstein made with prosecutors in Florida, in which the then U.S. attorney agreed to not prosecute the potential co-conspirators, should apply to at least one of the 3 counts in her case. The guy who made this deal was, of course, Alex Acosta, who served as Trump's labor secretary during his first term. Little suspicious. But the legal question is whether the terms of a so-called non-prosecution agreement only apply in the district where it was negotiated or also bind to federal prosecutors nationwide. The Justice Department is urging the Supreme Court to not even hear this case, saying that under internal policies, the U.S. attorney would have needed to obtain permission from superiors if the agreement were to apply outside of his district, and there is no evidence that this occurred. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was Trump's own personal lawyer, met this summer with Ghislaine Maxwell for hours in an encounter that at the time was private. And then, very suspiciously, after she said she knew nothing about Donald Trump's involvement in this case, she was moved to a minimum security prison camp in Texas. The Bureau of Prisons, of course, did not say why she was transferred. I wonder why. Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison after being convicted in 2022 of 3 counts relating to her role in assisting Epstein in recruiting and grooming his victims. Some of them were as young as 14 years old. She would befriend the victims and then assist in transporting them to Epstein's residences. She would also sometimes be present when the abuse was taking place, prosecutors alleged. And some of the victims have even came forward and said that she was more evil than anybody else involved. But now the Supreme Court is deciding whether or not they should take up her appeal. How about that?